Have you ever noticed how INFJs can shock people without even trying? It's not because they're loud or dramatic. It's because their mind works in ways most people can't even begin to understand. These are the people who notice what others miss, who feel deeper than anyone expects, and who can leave you speechless with the way they move through life. In this video, we'll explore 12 things only INFJs do that constantly leave people surprised, confused, and sometimes even intimidated. And trust me, if you're an INFJ, you'll recognize yourself in every single one of these. Stick around until the end because number 12 explains the one trait that makes INFJs impossible to forget. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to Brainy 1 so you never miss another deep dive into the INFJ mind. They read people instantly. When you walk into a room, you probably just see people. But when an INFJ walks in, it's completely different. They're not just looking at faces, they're scanning energy. They catch the shift in someone's tone, the hesitation before a smile, the way eyes dart for just a second too long. While most people need hours, days, or even weeks to get a sense of who someone really is, INFJs often know within minutes. And the unsettling part? They're usually right. You might not even realize how much information you're giving away without saying a word, but an INFJ does. They notice the tension in your body language, the way your words don't match your emotions, or how your energy feels different from what you're projecting. This is why people often say INFJs feel like mind readers. They're not using magic, they're simply tuned in at a level most people can't reach. What shocks others is how quickly this plays out. You might think you're hiding your frustration or masking your insecurity with confidence, but to an INFJ, it's written all over you. And here's the kicker. They won't always tell you what they see. They'll quietly file it away, deciding whether you're trustworthy, genuine, or worth their energy. It's not judgment, it's protection. Because once they know who you are beneath the mask, they can't unsee it. This is the first thing that makes INFJs so shocking. They read you before you've even finished introducing yourself. They mirror without realizing it. One of the most shocking things about INFJs is how naturally they mirror people without even trying. You might walk away from a conversation with them thinking, wow, they really get me. And you're right, they do. But what you don't realize is that part of their gift is reflecting your own emotions, tone, and even body language back to you. This isn't manipulation, it's instinct. INFJs are wired to connect deeply, and mirroring is how they build that connection. If you're sad, their voice softens. If you're excited, their energy rises to match yours. They pick up your emotional frequency and echo it back so smoothly that you feel instantly comfortable, almost like you've known them forever. But here's where it becomes shocking. Because they mirror so seamlessly, people often mistake this connection as proof that the INFJ is exactly like them. They'll believe the INFJ shares their beliefs, their worldview, and even their struggles. In reality, the INFJ is simply holding up a mirror so you can see yourself more clearly. They're not becoming you, they're showing you yourself. Over time, this can create confusion. People may assume INFJs are their soulmates or best friends who understand every part of them, only to be stunned when the INFJ later reveals a completely different perspective. That's because the mirroring was never about pretending. It was about empathy, and few people realize just how powerful or unsettling it feels to be seen so clearly. This ability makes INFJs magnetic, but it also shocks others when they realized the INFJ wasn't blending in, they were decoding. Their emotions run deeper than they show. What shocks most people about INFJs is how calm and collected they appear on the outside, while carrying an ocean of emotions inside. You might think they're unshakable, that nothing truly gets under their skin, but that's only because they've learned to protect their inner world by not letting everyone see the storm. An INFJ feels emotions on a level that most people can't even imagine. A small slight that another person would brush off might sit with them for days, not because they're weak, but because they process everything in layers. When you say something harsh, they don't just hear the words, they feel the intent, the tone, the unspoken meaning behind it. They replay it, dissect it, and absorb it. And yet, most of the time, you'll never see the weight they're carrying. This depth often shocks others because INFJs are so good at keeping it hidden. They may smile, nod, or quietly move on, while inside they're processing grief, empathy, or even rage. It's not deception, it's self-preservation. They know that showing everything they feel would overwhelm not only themselves, but also the people around them. But here's where it becomes truly shocking. When INFJs finally do reveal the intensity of what they've been feeling, it blindsides everyone. Friends and partners are stunned to realize that while they thought the INFJ was fine, they were actually swimming in emotions so deep they could drown. And that's when people finally understand INFJs don't feel more because they're fragile, they feel more because their emotional depth is part of their design. When you're close to an INFJ, you're not just dealing with surface-level moods. You're dealing with someone whose emotional world is vast, complex, and endlessly layered. And if you underestimate it, you'll always be surprised by just how deep it really runs. They see patterns you don't notice. One of the most shocking traits of an INFJ is their ability to connect dots that seem invisible to everyone else. While most people are focused on surface details, what was said, how someone behaved in the moment, an INFJ is quietly watching the entire picture unfold. They don't just see events, they see the underlying motives, the recurring cycles, and the hidden strings that tie everything together. For example, you might think you're just venting about your coworker, but the INFJ is already piecing together a pattern in how you talk about authority, or how you handle conflict, or how your energy shifts when certain topics come up. They notice the way your tone changes, the words you choose, even the pauses in your sentences. These small cues, which most people would ignore, become data points for the INFJ's mind to analyze. What makes this so shocking to others is that INFJs often point out truths you didn't even realize about yourself. They might say something like, "It seems like you're not upset about what happened today. You're upset because it reminds you of how your father treated you." And suddenly, you're floored because they've cut straight to the root of an issue you didn't even know existed. This isn't guesswork. It's the natural way INFJs process the world. Their minds operate like a radar system, constantly scanning beneath the surface for meaning. Where others see random chaos, INFJs see patterns that explain why people behave the way they do. And once you realize they've been quietly tracking these patterns the entire time, it can feel both unsettling and awe-inspiring. It's not magic and it's not manipulation, it's insight. And it's part of why being close to an INFJ can feel like they know you better than you know yourself. They experience emotions on multiple levels at once. One of the most shocking things about INFJs is how layered their emotional world really is. While most people feel emotions one at a time, anger, joy, sadness, excitement, INFJs often feel multiple emotions stacked together, all tied to different layers of meaning. This is why being inside an INFJ's mind can feel like living on several frequencies at once. For example, imagine something simple like a friend canceling plans. Most people would just feel annoyed or disappointed. But for an INFJ, that moment can trigger disappointment, yes, but also concern about why the friend canceled, guilt about maybe being too demanding, sadness because it reminds them of past rejection, and even acceptance if they sense it was necessary. It's never just one emotion. It's a web of feelings, all processed simultaneously. This emotional complexity is what makes INFJs seem so deep and hard to fully understand. They don't just react to the surface situation. They connect it to patterns from the past, to hidden meanings in the present, and to possible outcomes in the future. Their emotions are multi-layered because they're always thinking beyond the moment. To outsiders, this can look like mood swings or being too sensitive, but in reality, it's the exact opposite. INFJs aren't unstable, they're attuned. They feel things in high definition, with all the shades and undertones others usually miss. That's why it's so difficult to explain how they feel in words. By the time they try to describe it, the moment has already shifted into a dozen new emotional layers. This is also why INFJs can be emotionally exhausting to themselves. Carrying so many feelings at once means they often need solitude to process, reflect, and untangle everything. It's not that they're cold or shutting people out, it's that their inner world is so rich, it takes time to sort through it. And once you understand this, you realize just how differently an INFJ experiences life compared to almost anyone else. They see the future hidden in the present. One of the most striking and mysterious things about INFJs is their ability to sense where things are heading before anyone else notices. It's not magic and it's not guessing, it's pattern recognition on a level most people can't even process. You notice the small inconsistencies in someone's behavior, the subtle cracks in a relationship, or the way a situation feels just slightly off. And while others brush it aside, you file it away, connect it with other cues, and quietly see the bigger picture forming. For example, when a friend insists they're fine but avoids eye contact and their tone shifts ever so slightly, most people wouldn't think twice. But you pick up on it. You sense the distance growing long before the friendship falls apart. Or in the workplace, you might recognize early signs of burnout in someone even before they admit it to themselves. To you, the present moment is full of clues about what's coming next, and your brain naturally pieces them together into a narrative. This forward-looking intuition often shocks people because when your predictions come true, they think you're psychic. In reality, you're just paying attention to the things others overlook. The way someone hesitates before answering, the hidden tension in a room, or the gut feeling that something just doesn't add up. It all feeds into the INFJ's ability to see outcomes before they unfold. But this gift isn't always easy to carry. Seeing the future in the present means you often know how a relationship will end, even while you're still in it. You might sense betrayal long before it happens, or feel the slow unraveling of a connection while everyone else is still smiling on the surface. It's bittersweet because while it helps you prepare emotionally, it can also make you feel isolated, like you're walking through life knowing truths no one else is ready to accept. This ability explains why INFJs often withdraw earlier than others expect. You're not leaving suddenly. You've seen where things were going long before anyone else did. And by the time people finally realize what was happening, you're already at peace with your decision. That's the hidden power of INFJ foresight. It allows you to step out of situations with quiet clarity, even when others are still lost in the noise. Their inner world is too complex to translate. When it comes to INFJs, one of the most shocking truths is how little of their inner world anyone ever really sees. You might share pieces here and there, a glimpse into your thoughts or feelings, but the full scope of what you carry inside is almost impossible to put into words. Your mind is like a multi-layered labyrinth filled with insights, memories, dreams, and emotional threads that connect in ways most people wouldn't even think to imagine. The problem is, language feels too limited for you. You can feel 10 emotions at once, each with a different meaning, each pulling in its own direction, but when someone asks, "How are you feeling?" you can't possibly compress that depth into a single sentence like, "I'm fine" or "I'm tired." So you end up holding most of it inside, not because there's no way to fully explain. This complexity often makes others underestimate just how much is going on beneath your calm surface. They see you as quiet, steady, maybe even reserved, but inside, entire worlds are unfolding. You might be analyzing the dynamics of a conversation, reflecting on your past, imagining future possibilities, and processing your emotions all at once. And because most people can't follow that depth, you stop trying to make them. It can be frustrating, even lonely, to live in a world where your thoughts feel untranslatable. Sometimes you long for someone who can truly get it, someone who doesn't need every detail explained, who just understands the unspoken. But those connections are rare, and that rarity is part of why INFJs are so selective about who they let close. This hidden complexity is also why INFJs shock people with sudden insights. Out of nowhere, you'll say something that hits like lightning. So precise, so accurate, it almost feels otherworldly. What others don't realize is that it wasn't sudden for you at all. It was the result of countless hours of inner reflection, connecting invisible dots that no one else noticed. Your inner world is too vast to fully translate, and that's both your burden and your gift. It means people may never fully understand you, but it also means you carry a richness of perception that few others will ever experience. For an INFJ, being misunderstood is almost inevitable, but so is having a perspective that can change lives in ways others can't. They guard their inner world like a fortress. If there's one thing that truly shocks people about INFJs, it's how carefully you guard the deepest parts of yourself. On the surface, you might seem open, warm, even easy to talk to. People often feel like they can confide in you instantly because you create such a safe space for others. But when it comes to your own inner world, the thoughts that cut the deepest, the emotions that define who you are, you hold those behind locked doors. It's not that you don't want to share, it's that you know from experience how exposing yourself too quickly can backfire. You've seen how people misuse vulnerability, how they take your openness and turn it into a weapon, or how they dismiss your feelings as too much. So you learn to protect yourself, to only reveal pieces of who you are when someone has proven time and time again that they won't misuse your trust. To most people, this makes you a mystery. They might think they know you well, but they've only seen the outer layers. Very few ever get close enough to glimpse the real depth inside you, and even then, it's never everything. You keep certain thoughts, dreams, and fears entirely to yourself, not out of secrecy, but out of self-preservation. This fortress-like guarding of your inner world can confuse others. Some may accuse you of being distant or difficult to read, but what they don't understand is that you're simply protecting your most valuable resource, your emotional and psychological energy. You give so much to others already, your empathy, your insight, your ability to understand their struggles, that you can't afford to hand over your deepest self to anyone who hasn't earned it. The irony is that this very act of guarding makes people even more drawn to you. Humans are fascinated by mystery, and when they sense there's more to you than meets the eye, they become even more curious. But for you, that curiosity doesn't mean access. You decide who gets in, and most of the time, the answer is no. This fortress is both your shield and your filter. It keeps you safe from those who don't deserve you, and it ensures that when you finally do let someone in, it's because they've proven to be trustworthy in ways most people never will. Their intuition is beyond explanation. One of the most shocking things about INFJs is how often your intuition seems almost supernatural to others. People around you might call it a gut feeling, but for you, it's something far more layered and precise. It's not just a vague hunch. It's a deep knowing that comes from piecing together subtle details, unspoken emotions, and patterns most people don't even notice. You can walk into a room, say very little, and still walk away with an understanding of the dynamics that others would miss even if they stayed for hours. The reason this feels unexplainable is because you can't always trace it back logically. You may not know why you know something, you just know. That's why when you warn someone about a relationship, a decision, or a person they shouldn't trust, you often struggle to explain the how. You see beneath the surface, connecting threads in ways that don't require conscious thought. It's like your subconscious is always scanning for truth, and it delivers the results long before others even realize there's something to notice. This ability often leaves others unsettled. Some people may be amazed at how you predicted the outcome of a situation months before it happened. Others may dismiss you because they can't see the same evidence you can. But eventually, your insights are proven right more often than not. And that's when people begin to realize you aren't guessing, you're perceiving at a level they can't access. For INFJs, this intuition isn't just about predicting external events. It's also about reading people's hidden motives. You can sense dishonesty, even when someone's words sound flawless. You can feel when emotions don't match someone's facial expressions or tone. And because you can't always explain it in rational terms, it often feels like magic to the people on the receiving end. What makes this even more powerful is that you rarely misuse it. You don't use your intuition to manipulate or control others. You use it to protect yourself and the people you care about. But still, it shocks people to realize how much you can see without anyone telling you a word. To them, it feels almost invasive. To you, it's just second nature. Their detachment is final, not temporary. One of the most shocking traits people discover about INFJs is that when you detach, it's not a temporary cooling off period, it's permanent. Many people assume that silence means you just need space, that after a few days or weeks, you'll come back around and things will return to normal. But for you, detachment is the last step in a long internal process that nobody else saw happening. By the time you pull away, you've already replayed the situation countless times in your mind, given more chances than you should have, and searched for reasons to stay. When none of those reasons hold anymore, your decision to walk away is final. This detachment shocks others because they mistake your patience for endless tolerance. They don't see the quiet buildup of resentment or the way you've been slowly pulling back long before they noticed. When you finally cut the cord, it feels sudden to them, but in reality, it's been coming for a long time. What makes it so final is that you don't leave doors half open. Once your trust has been broken beyond repair, reopening that connection feels like self-betrayal. And since you value your peace and self-respect above maintaining a toxic tie, you never look back. For you, this isn't about punishment or revenge. It's about survival and self-protection. You understand that staying connected to someone who's hurt you repeatedly only leads to more damage. And while others may beg for closure or explanations, you don't feel the need to justify your decision. Your silence becomes the answer, your absence becomes the lesson, and the finality of your detachment is what leaves the deepest impact on those who once underestimated you. They balance empathy with cold logic. You shock people because you can feel emotions with a depth that few can imagine, yet you're able to detach and think with an almost surgical logic when you need to. Most people expect deep feelers to be consumed by their emotions, but you prove them wrong. You can sit in someone's pain, absorb the intensity of what they're going through, and still make decisions based on clarity rather than chaos. This is what confuses others. One moment, you're the most compassionate person in the room, offering comfort no one else can give, and the next, you're shutting down toxic dynamics with a level of decisiveness that feels almost cold. It's not that you lack heart, it's that your empathy is paired with discernment. You know when helping turns into enabling, when love turns into self-destruction, and when to pull back before you're consumed. This ability to blend deep feeling with razor-sharp logic is rare, and it's exactly why people never see you coming. You're not just an empath, you're a strategist. And that combination makes you powerful in ways most people will never fully understand. At the end of the day, being an INFJ isn't about fitting into anyone's expectations. It's about embracing the depth, the contradictions, and the quiet strength that set you apart. The very things that confuse others are the same things that make you powerful, resilient, and unforgettable. If you've ever felt unseen or misunderstood, remember this. Your uniqueness is not a flaw, it's your advantage. And if this video helped you recognize yourself in ways others rarely do, make sure you subscribe and stay with this community, because here you don't have to explain who you are. Tell me in the comments. Which of these 12 traits shocked you the most about yourself?